Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Paschat Desh Tarine. हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome for this Bhakti Shastri class for the third chapter, Karma Yoga. So we had completed till the 16th shloka, and we're going to start the next section from the 17th shloka onwards. But the last section that we saw was how a person can uplift himself from the Karma Kanda stage to the Karma Yoga stage by performing yajnas. So if a person wants to be happy, then he has to perform yajna. And the reason is that if there is cooperation between men and demigods, then definitely the demigods will cooperate equally, and there will be prosperity reigning all over. But one who does not perform sacrifice, then Krishna says that because these are the gifts given by the Lord. So if he does not perform sacrifice, then and he's enjoying these gifts given by the Lord, so then he is actually a thief only. And Krishna also mentions that how you should food should be offered as a sacrifice and then only be eaten. And then he explains the cycle of sacrifice where rains are produced by performing yajna, and yajna is born of when a person is performing prescribed duties, and these prescribed duties are mentioned in the Vedas, and these Vedas are directly manifested from the Lord, and then consequently the Supreme Lord is eternally situated in all acts of sacrifice. So whatever sacrifices you do, so these are the Supreme Lord is equally involved. And if a particular person is not performing sacrifice, then he is living a sinful life itself. So Krishna so far is that if one has desires, he may work with desires in a religious way. So, and now he will explain that even if somebody has no desire, he should still work to set as an example for others. Like the previous section, we saw that it describes the Indriya Arama, or the person and the next. So Indriya Arama means you're just satisfying your own senses. But the next section will describe that it is Atma Rama or Atra Tripta person who is an Atma Tripta. So the 17th shloka till the 35th shloka, Krishna will be describing that how to perform Nishkam Karma Yoga to set a proper example. So one who, like in this section, Krishna will definitely explain that one who is in full knowledge does not have any material desires, or he is not even attached as such. So he does not need to do any prescribed duties for his purification, but still he performs certain obligatory duties that are prescribed in the scriptures to set an example for those who are a little less knowledgeable. So then Krishna will definitely now give certain examples also, because if you give examples, then people are able to relate very easily. So in this section, he will say that whoever is a self-realized person, he does not need to work, but yet he is working uh, out of setting an example for the others. So the self-realized person has no duty as such, but still he is working for setting an example. So let's see the 17th and the 18th shloka. यस्त्वम् आत्मरतिरेव स्यात् आत्मतृप्तश्च मानव आत्मन्येव च सन्तुष्टस्य कार्य न विद्यते. But for one who takes pleasure in the self, whose human life is one of self-realization, and who is satisfied in the self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty. Shanti Mataji, please read this purport.
A person who is fully Krishna conscious and is fully satisfied by his acts in Krishna consciousness no longer has any duty to perform. Due to his being Krishna conscious, all impiety within is instantly cleansed and an effect of many thousands of yajna performances. By such clearing of consciousness, one becomes fully confident of his eternal position in relationship with the Supreme. His duty thus becomes self-illuminated by the grace of the Lord, and therefore he no longer has any obligations to the Vedic injunctions. Such a Krishna conscious person is no longer interested in material activities and no longer takes pleasure in material arrangements like wine, women, and similar infatuations.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. So, in this particular shloka, Krishna is saying that one who is taking pleasure in this self, that Atma Rati. So, and who is satisfied in the self only, Atma Tripta. So he is fully satiated in himself only. He is fully satisfied in himself only. That is called Atma Santushta. So there is no obligation for such a person to work. Okay, so these self-realized souls, they are free from all material duties. So he's giving the actually characteristics of a person who is self-realized. Firstly, he is Atma Rati. Okay, so and who is self-satisfied, Atma Tripta, and then who is fully satisfied, fully satiated, in the sense he is fully, he is fully santushta with himself. So Atma Santushta. So he has no obligation to do any prescribed duties. He has no taste for material pleasures. And even if you see, uh, this particular person, he's free from all other obligations and prescribed duties only. But he's doing all activities in Krishna consciousness. Now, why is he doing all these activities in Krishna consciousness? Because Krishna consciousness is a purifying process. So because of Krishna consciousness, he will have all, piety, and all his impiety within his heart will be instantly cleansed, and he will be completely fixed in his identity. But because when the consciousness is completely purified, then one becomes very fully confident of his eternal relationship with Krishna. So also he becomes even self-illuminated by the grace of the Lord. So these are some of the characteristics. The 18th sloka will give more characteristics. So just let's see the 18th sloka also. नैव तस्य कृतेनार्थो न कृतेनेह कश्चन न चास्य सर्वभूतेषु कश्चित् अर्थ व्यपाश्रय. A self-realized person has no purpose to fulfill in discharge of his prescribed duties, nor he has any reason to perform such work, nor has he any need to depend on any living entity. So, he has no purpose of also or gain in performing any actions. He has no reason also for performing such work, and he does not have to even depend on any other living entity or any other demigod also. So, this particular person, he's not obliged to anyone. So, and he loses also all material interest also. So he's not interested in any material activities. He does not take pleasure in any material elements also, like wine, women, and many other infatuations also that he has. So he is free from all obligations. Why? Because he has taken the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because he's taken the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he does not take shelter of any other person or any other man or any other demigod. And that is why he is free from all obligations. Like sometimes people think that I'm obliged to so and so person, I'm obliged to so and so person, I'm obliged to my parents, I'm obliged to my relatives, I'm obliged to, the demigods also. But over here, if somebody is watering the root, then he is not obliged to the leaves and the branches, because he is directly watering the root, because he is directly worshipping the Supreme. So one who has, this his spiritual intelligence is sufficiently developed, then he does not perform any prescribed duties with desires. Like for example, a particular person, we devotees, we are also, we get up in the morning daily, we do our normal duties, we sit for chanting, we cook food, we go out to earn money, or we even have family relationships and all. But whatever actions we are doing, we are not attached to those people, and we do not have any desires also from those people, right? But we are doing it everything because we are attached to the root. We are so firmly attached with the root, then we don't need to cling on to somebody else, because we know there is one powerful person who is there sufficient enough for me. एक बंदा ही काफी है मेरे लिए. So one person is only good enough for me, right? So but still, he's performing his duty, like for example, taking care of parents, taking care of children, taking care of wife, husband, taking care of relatives also if they are not feeling well. Why? Because we want to set an example that the Krishna conscious people, or anybody who takes to this path of bhakti yoga, is not a hard hearted person. He also is living in the arena of varnashram. He is performing his prescribed duties because it is a duty. The duty of the parent is to take care of the children. The duty of the husband is to take care of the wife and children. The duty of the wife is to take care of the husband and the children and the other family members also. Or even, if you have neighbors, or if you have some relatives also, or you have your friends, you have your teachers. It is the duty of every person to take care of such people. But whenever you are doing that duty, you do not do it with an attachment. You're detached that, okay, this is my duty because I am a son. I have to serve my parents, so I'm doing it out of duty. So, though he is not obliged, but still he is performing his niyat karma, the prescribed duty. So, let's see the next shloka. तस्मादसक्त सततं कार्यं कर्म समाचर असक्तो हि आचरन् कर्म परम आपनोति पुरुषः. Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty. For by working without attachment, one can attain the supreme. So, see now, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, what he says is attachment is the root cause to material bondage. Right? You must have heard this statement many a times, that is, attachment is the root cause to material bondage. You are attached to one person, then you have to take birth. Like, for example, the wife is attached to the husband. On the deathbed, she's so attached to the husband. So, we are not talking about Krishna conscious people, we are talking about those who are not. And then she dies in that particular consciousness of her husband because she's too attached all her life with her husband. So what happens is in the next birth, then she takes the body of a man. Or if the man is too attached to the wife, then the man takes the body of a woman. And that's how one attachment will lead to another attachment. And how is this attachment, springing up or it's evolved? It is only because of desires that are formed. So our desires should be dovetailed. And Prabhupada also actually is mentioning over here that if you see, a Krishna conscious person has no attachment for the results, but acts on behalf of Krishna alone. He engages in all kind of activity, but is completely non-detached. So if somebody is taking care of the family, somebody is taking care of some other relatives also. So they're not attached. Or somebody is running a business. So he's not attached with his business. He knows that the ultimate controller is the Supreme Lord. Whether he earns profit, whether he does not earn profit, that he leaves it on to Krishna. Or even a farmer, if you see. The farmer is completely dependent on Krishna for rains. And that is how you see previously people were complete because there was so much natural things growing that they were completely dependent on Krishna. And they knew that Krishna is the only ultimate supplier of all these things. And that is why all the time the farmer used to look up in the sky, begging for the mercy of the Lord helplessly. And that's how there were rains also. And with that good consciousness, when the farmer is, harvesting or where he's sowing the seeds or he's watering or winnowing also, he knows this is the mercy of the Lord that is showered in the form of rains. But nowadays, with all these, modern farming technologies, the farmers have stopped depending on the Supreme Lord. And that is why you see what grains we are eating if somebody is not offering, okay? So he is not dependent on Lord. So that grain when we eat, that is actually causing us, our consciousness also gets polluted. Because previously when the farmers were dependent on the Lord, what used to happen that particular grain was actually sanctified because of that consciousness that he has put in himself, a good consciousness that is there, put in while farming, while watering, having gratitude. So even those people who ate, they also had gratitude. But nowadays, because of this modern technology, people don't have gratitude only. They have forgotten that essential virtue of life is to be grateful to the Supreme Lord, to be grateful to somebody who's done something really good for you. And that's how people have forgotten their basics. They think that, oh, this has been provided by the government. This is provided by the area government or something like that. So that is only the flaw over here. So therefore, without being attached to the fruits of action, then one should act as a matter of duty. Uh, and uh, by working dutifully with attachment, then one can attain liberation of the Supreme Lord. Sorry, detachment, not attachment. So, okay, next we just see. कर्मण्येव हि संसिद्धिम् आशि आस्थित जनकादय लोकसंग्रामेवापि संपाश्यन् कर्तुम् अर्हसि. So now Krishna is giving an example. He gives an analogy. So analogies are very good. Why? Because they help us to relate to the person immediately. And since we have read the Ramayana multiple times, we know the characteristics of King Janak, who is very famous king. And in those times, the kings were Raja Rishis. So even King Janak over here, kings such as Janaka attained perfection solely by performance of prescribed duties. Therefore, just for the sake of educating the people in general, you should perform your work. So, if you see that Arjuna is wondering if there are any examples of persons who have attained God consciousness. Like we give testimonies, right? Okay, this person has lost 10 kgs weight after joining our gym. So Krishna is also actually giving analogies that okay, anybody who has attain perfection by only performing prescribed duties, by karma yoga, you can say. So Krishna is citing examples of even other warriors like King Janaka. So he's actually giving Arjuna these examples so that he has the right example of work. So if you see over here, before the battle of Kurukshetra, every effort was made to avoid the war, even by the personality of Godhead. But the other party was determined to fight. So, for such a right cause, there is necessity for fighting. Although one who is situated in Krishna conscious may not have interest in the world, he still works to teach the public how to live and how to act. So that is why you see, even my spiritual master, if somebody wants to just abruptly, quit his job, my spiritual master says, no, you have to be professional. Or if somebody has that intelligence to study more, still my spiritual master will encourage him. So if he has done post-graduation, my spiritual master will encourage him to do PhD. So that when this particular person becomes a PhD, he's setting a right example. That see, even a PhD is actually taking up to Bhakti Yoga. So, and why Krishna is giving this example? Because Janak Maharaj is a very experienced person. An experienced person in Krishna conscious can act in such a way that others will follow. And this is explained in the next verse that if you see, like for example, now you see our Prime Minister of India. So, because he is giving the Bhagavad Gita, to all the prime ministers of different countries. Okay, he did present a Bhagavad Gita recently also. So he's giving the Bhagavad Gita, which means that it carries a lot of weightage also. That, oh, Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, he is presenting the Bhagavad Gita. That means he has read the Bhagavad Gita. And if you see, most of the times he is living by that Bhagavad Gita. He is not too much attached also, because he has nothing. He has no family. He has no, what do you say, greed. He is selflessly serving the nation as such. So, and because he has a selfless attitude and he is doing it for the Supreme Lord, he has victory everywhere he goes. And he's able to win hearts also. So still, if you see the next sloka, that yad yad achariti shreshtas tad eva evataro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokastad anuvartate. So anuvartate, following in the footsteps. So he says that whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever standard he sets by exemplary acts, all the world will pursue. So a leader has to teach the public by his own uh, practical behavior also. A leader cannot teach people to drink wine if he himself is drinking wine. Or a leader cannot teach people to stop doing corruption when he himself is doing, a greater amount of corruption. So, and the leader's teachings should be based on scriptures. So when we are comparing the material world and the world inside of Krishna consciousness, and we are talking about leaders within the ISKCON society also. So such leaders' teaching should be based on the scriptures. So we have three bases for whatever we speak: Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So this is the basis of when we are actually speaking. And a leader who's acting very whimsically and on his own terms, and who does not accept the scriptures, such a leader should be actually rejected. But nowadays what has happened is, people don't know only that how should we choose our leader, because for them, even uh, even in the citizens also, there is so much of greed, there is so much of pride, there is so much of ego, envy. So their intelligence has been taken away by these factors of all these anarthas. And that is why they are not able to decide only. You give one laptop, and the leader gives one laptop, one bicycle, one cricket bat or something like that, and people get very easily sold and they cast a vote to him. And that is temporary lollipop they are giving to the citizens. So once the election is over, then you go your way, I will go my way, whatever I want to do. And now I am actually now the king now over here, and I will do whatever I want to do. So that is why people should be educated enough to how to choose their leaders. Those leaders who are living their lives based on scriptures, such leaders should be chosen. And not a leader who is just whimsically acting on his own terms and who does not accept the scriptures. That particular person should not be casted a vote or should not be elected as a leader or should be sitting on the king's throne. That way. So why Prabhupada is mentioning, you see, all such natural leaders have a great responsibility to their dependents, and therefore they must be conversant with the standard books of moral and spiritual codes. So they should be actually, following the path of self-realization. But nowadays we know what leaders are doing. So, न मे पार्थस्ति कर्तव्यं त्रिषु लोकेषु किंचन नानवाप्त वाप्तपन अवाप्यतम avaptavyam varta eva cha karmani. O son of Pritha, there is no work prescribed for me. Krishna is giving his own example. First, he is giving the example of Janak Maharaj. And now, because Krishna is the Sakha of Arjuna, and Arjuna is the Sakha of Krishna, so now Krishna is giving his own example. He says that there is no work uh, prescribed for me within all these three planetary systems. Of course, he is the controller, proprietor, and the enjoyer. So why will there be any work for him? Nor am I in want of anything, because Krishna is Atmaram. That is why he does not want anything. Nor have I a need to obtain anything, because Krishna is not attached, he is detached. He is very good at relinquishing, and yet I'm engaged in prescribed duties. So um, even the Supreme Personality of Godhead is working according to the codes of the scriptures. So, though there is no work prescribed, but still he is engaged in prescribed duties, which means what? Like if you see in Dwarka, Krishna was properly taking care of his wives, his children, because 16,108 wives. And all those 16,108 wives had their independent palaces. All those 16,108 wives had 10 children born of Krishna. So now you can multiply, 16,108 multiplied by. So that many people Krishna was sustaining over there or taking care of, imagine. And how he was doing it, once we also know that Narad Muni was very confused and he went to visit Lord Krishna, and then in this palace also he's seeing Krishna, and in that palace also he's seeing Krishna. In one palace he's seeing Krishna meditating. In one palace he's seeing Krishna taking care of children. In the other palace he is running his kingdom. He is sitting on the throne and he's listening to all the concerns of his citizens. So even Krishna is also performing his prescribed duties. Then we are still subordinate to Krishna. We are still Jivatmas. So for us, our leader is Krishna. So whatever a great man does, common man will definitely follow. So we are following in the path of the Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada says over here that this is a very striking paragraph. So since everything is in full opulence in the person Godhead and is existing in full truth, there is no duty for the Supreme Lord to perform. One who must receive the results of work has some designated duty, but one who has nothing to achieve within the three planet systems actually has no duty. And yet the Lord is engaged on the battlefield of Kurukshetra as a leader of the Kshatriyas, because the Kshatriyas are duty bound to give protection to the distressed. So Krishna is born in a Kshatriya family, so he is bound to give, protection. And although he is above all rules and regulations of the revealed scriptures, he does not do anything that violates the revealed scriptures. So, if you see Krishna is still on the battlefield, you might think that Krishna is just riding the chariot of Arjuna, but at the back, this whole war was orchestrated by the Lord to establish dharma. So here also he is doing some work, right? He is also doing his prescribed duty. He is a leader, and it is his duty to give protection to those who are in distressed condition. Because during Dhritarashtra's time, and because Duryodhan was the prince, the people, the citizens were not very happy with the king. And that is why Krishna thought that what is the fault of the innocent citizens? Why should they actually suffer so much of atrocities, agony? And there are many reasons which have led to the war of Kurukshetra. It was not only one reason. It was not only Draupadi who was the prime reason. There were many other reasons which had piled up over a period of time, right from the Pandavas' childhood. And then that kept on, those instances kept on aggravating more. And to such an extent that the Pandavas went on suffering and did not retaliate. So now Krishna is giving an example that if somebody is harming you, it is your birthright to go ahead and defend. Like, for example, if a tiger comes and pounces on me, I'm definitely going to defend. I'm not going to say, okay, tiger, it is anyways human flesh, or any flesh is your food. So you please, royally, relish my flesh. No, I'm definitely going to, I'm going to defend myself. That is why in the jungle, people take rifles and move. That is their defense system. Or, for example, if a mosquito, if he's biting me, I have the right to defend myself and shoo him away. Right? So, to defend is human right. And Pandavas never defended, because Mother Kunti had given such wonderful samskaras. She herself has tolerated, and she taught even the children to go ahead and tolerate. But Krishna is teaching over here that at one point of time you should not tolerate. Otherwise, it will keep on aggravating. Of course, Krishna wanted to establish dharma. He wanted that a righteous person be established on the throne like Yudhishthir Maharaj, and to uh, to maintain these religious principles of a dharma, this war was fought. Let's see the next shloka. Yadi hi aham no varteyam jatu karmani atandrita mama vartamanu vartante manushya parth sarvashah. For if I ever fail to engage in carefully performing prescribed duties, O Partha, certainly all men would follow my path. Because Krishna is Jagat Guru, so whatever he is doing, every man will follow. And uh, even if you see, when Krishna is saying that he has to balance everything, and because to balance it, he's also following the prescribed rules and regulations of the Shastras. So, why is he, following? To establish the principles of religion, that is dharma, and that is why he is following. Otherwise, what will happen is that if Krishna wouldn't follow the prescribed duties, what would happen is that the common public, they would also walk in the footsteps, and they would think that, oh, Krishna did this, so we can also do this. Krishna did that, so we can also do that. So even from the Bhagavatam, it is mentioned Lord Krishna was performing all religious duties at home and out at home as required of a householder. If you see in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavatam, it is which chapter where he is meeting, 9th chapter is Bhishma's passing of Bhishma. Then, yeah, the 11th chapter, the Canto 1, 11th chapter, it speaks elaborately like how Lord Krishna, had loving exchanges with his wives in Dwarka. So let's see the next. Utsideyuri me loka na purya karma chedaham Shankarasyascha kartasyam upahanyam imam prajaha. So Krishna says, if I did not perform prescribed duties, all these worlds would be put in ruination. I would be the cause of creating unwanted population, and I would thereby destroy the peace of all living beings. So Varna Shankara means unwanted population, which, they keep on disturbing the society again and again. To give a very common example is these Atangwadis. They are actually like unwanted population, because Their work is only to always disturb the peace of the society. Recently, we have seen in France also what exactly happened, and so much of chaos is being created in France because of the police shooting one teenager over there, and the whole system, there was a full chaos. So now, in order that there is no social disturbance, then a person follows the codes and conducts of the shastras and his prescribed duties. And if somebody is not following the codes and conducts of the shastras, then um, he's actually ruining the peace of all the living beings. So uh, over here, Krishna is trying to say that, see, though I am the lawmaker and I'm beyond this law also, and uh, and I'm sometimes independent also of this law. But many times, Krishna sometimes acts independent of the law to please his devotees. Like, for example, Krishna had told on the battlefield of Kurukshetra that I will not pick up any weapon. But because Bhishma was about to shooting arrows at Arjuna, then Krishna, what did he do? Krishna picked up the wheel to go ahead and attack uh, Bhishma. So these are actually these actions somehow or the other, they are not to be performed by any person who is inferior to Krishna. This only Krishna can do because he is even beyond laws, but he can act independently. But for us living beings, even if we are devotees of Krishna, we have to go in that straight line of prescribed duties. So there is a difference between uh, when you imitate and when you follow. So, for example, when Krishna is doing some superhuman activities like dancing on Kalia, or where he is killing Aghasur and Bakasur, entering into the snake's mouth, or he's lifting the Govardhan, or where even Lord Shiva during the Samudra Manthan, he's drinking poison. So these great personalities are unaffected by all these activities. But an ordinary human being cannot do that. Today, if I take poison, what will happen with me? Immediately, there'll be a death. Okay. So, that is why it is best to follow the instructions and not imitate the powerful people. So, एक बोलते हैं ना, अनुकरण and अनुसरण. Anukaran means imitation, and Anusaran means following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. So, and that is why somebody who is rightly fixed in knowledge should also work to set as a right example, so that people do not indulge themselves into sinful activities, and they learn how to perform actions without being attached, in a detached mode. So let's see. We have to, Srila Prabhupada is saying that we have to follow his instructions, but we may not imitate him at any time. Prabhupada is mentioning a very important point. Okay. So he's saying that there are some pseudo devotees of Lord who prefer to imitate the Lord in Ras Leela, a dance of love, forgetting the inability to live Govardhan Hill. It is best, therefore, that one not try to imitate the powerful, but simply follow the instructions nor should one try to occupy their post without qualification. There are so many incarnations of God without the power of the supreme Godhead. So there are many incarnations of God, means what? So-called incarnation, you can say. They claim that, okay, मैं भगवान हूँ. तो अगर आप भगवान हो, if you're God, then why are you, why do you age? Why does your teeth fall off when you age? Why is your hair white? Why is your skin hanging then at the age of 70 also? But if you see Krishna on the other side, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he was 125 years old. But Krishna seemed as if he was as young as a 16-year-old boy. So, over here, if you see in the material world, there is birth, death, old age, and diseases. But in the spiritual world, there is no birth, there is no death, there is no old age, and there are no diseases. So when you have old age, definitely there will be diseases. Because with old age comes their byproduct, that is, diseases are definitely there. So if somebody is claiming to be an incarnation of God, then the first question is that why do you have to go ahead and answer the nature's call? God does not have to do that, right? So these are some of the defects where people claim to be that, and the innocent public, because they don't have knowledge, they have not sufficiently read Shastras, especially those who do not know how to read and write. It's so important for people like, and still actually, if you go to see in remote areas of India, there is so much of what do you call for blind faith. There is so much of andhavishwas that by doing this, by actually performing this bali of that person, a particular person will go pregnant because she's not getting pregnant because this particular person's karmas are affecting. So they try and give bali. That person does not even know that tomorrow I'll be killed, and innocently they kill and then they perform. So all these black magic and all that, all these temporary siddhis, these are, you can say, that these siddhis are not very permanent. And if these siddhis are used to do something good of the people, that is okay. But if you're performing some bad karmas and harming the others, it is very, very difficult. Yes, superstition. Yeah. There are so many superstitions that are there in India, especially in the remote villages of India. And that is why devotees go village to village to go ahead and educate people. Primarily, that nowadays village preaching has become very much prominent in the Krishna conscious movement that people want, because villagers are very innocent people. Whatever you, because villages are what, they're like a black slate, which is a blank slate or a blank blackboard. Whatever letters you will write, they will immediately pick up those letters. So it's very easy over there to preach. Of course, with many superstitions and all, devotees do face certain challenges and all, but nevertheless, they overcome those things. Like, so now if you see in the next shloka, Krishna will be actually from next shloka onward. There's 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. 5 shlokas. Krishna is going to give the distinguish between, or he's going to compare between an attached worker and a detached worker, between a karma kandi and a karma yogi. Sakta karmani, sorry, Sakta karmanya vidvanso yatha kurvanti bharata puryad vidvamsa tatha saktas chikishur loka sangrama. So as the ignorant perform their duties with attachment to results, the learned may simply act without detachment for the sake of leading people on the right path. So in these sections, where in this 25th, 26, 27, 28, Krishna will be describing the difference between an attached worker and a detached worker, and how this detached worker will deal also with an attached worker. How will devotees deal with non-devotees or yet to become devotees, you can say. So a person in Krishna conscious and a person not in Krishna conscious are differentiated by different desires. A Krishna conscious person does not do anything which is not conducive to the development of Krishna conscious. He may even act like he may act exactly like the ignorant person who is too much attached to material activity, but one is engaged in such activities for the satisfaction of his sense gratification, whereas the other is engaged for the satisfaction of Krishna. Therefore, the Krishna conscious person is required to show the people how to act and how to engage the results of action for the purpose of Krishna consciousness. Like, for example, you will see devotees going to offices or teaching their kids or taking their children out for a picnic or anything of these normal activities which even a yet to become devotee or a non-devotee is doing it. So what is the difference? The difference is in the consciousness. So Krishna conscious person, he is going out to earn money. He has his daily job, or he goes to the office, or he's running the business, or he's flying out of India for his business tour. Anything of these, he is exactly doing it without any attachment. He knows that he is working for the satisfaction of Krishna. So he knows that, okay, I have to earn, and a part of it I have to give it for the expansion of Krishna consciousness. A part of it I earn and I give it for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord, so that this movement expands. Because this is actually dharma for a grihastha. Like for the dharma for a grihastha is that you donate money. Whatever you're earning, we don't know that how that money is coming. If whether a boss is giving you the money or the customer is giving you money or a client is giving you money, we don't know. So when you are donating some money to the temple, your money gets purified. And we also know, of course, we are not doing it with that particular intention that I give 1 rupee to Krishna and Krishna will give me 100 rupees back. No, you are purifying that money that is there. And when you purify, then you are out of all the sins that are there, bought from that money. Of course, a person should give 100% to Krishna, but Rupa Goswami says that at least 50% should be given to Krishna. And if somebody really wants to start, then he can start with baby steps. In the beginning, he can give 5% of his income to the Lord. Then slowly, gradually increase it to 10 and then to 15 and then to 20. And gradually, he will see that by giving, he can give more also. So if he was giving initially somewhere like 5,000, he will be able to give 10,000 and then 15,000 and then whatever he's decided he wants to give. That intention or the mode of giving is more important, because when you give, then you're not attached, and that's how it makes you detached. So because if somebody is acting even without attachment, he's also setting a right example ना कि मैं अपना जो हिस्सा है, मैं जो कमा रहा हूँ, उसका 5% में दे रहा हूँ, so others will also get inspired. Oh, he's giving 5%, even I should give something. He's contributing something for a very good cause. Oh, let me also contribute. So he's setting an example, and he's also showing that you should be detached, because at the time of death, we also know that when we were born, we don't bring in a single rupee with us. When we're going to die, we're not going to take away a single rupee from here. So let's see the next. Na buddhi bhedam janayat ajnanam karma sanginam joshet sarva karmani vidvan yukta samachara. So as not to disrupt the minds of ignorant men attached to the fruitive results of prescribed duties, a learned person should not induce them to stop work. So see, even we as leaders, we should not tell somebody, अरे सब कुछ छोड़ छाड़ के मंदिर में आ जाओ भाई, अब तो क्या है, आपने कमा लिया है, दमा लिया है, you are even if somebody is retired from his government job, still he has to do some work. He should not give up, right? Or he has to do work for Krishna then. So, like I remember when devotees want to actually give up their jobs and want to become full-time devotees in the temple. So the spiritual master tests actually that how firm is he, and he will check whether he has a family, whether he has children, whether he has some obligations towards parents, relatives, or something. So then the spiritual master will not encourage. The spiritual master will say that you work for some time and then I will tell you when to stop. But the spiritual master does not encourage. So we as leaders also should not encourage people to stop working. Working means working for family, working for children, working for wife, working for husband, working for parents. We should not. So rather by working in the spirit of devotion, you should engage them in all sorts of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness. So if you see where Krishna is telling that uh, all rituals, all performance of sacrifice and everything that is put into the Vedas, including all direction for material activity, are meant for understanding Krishna, who is the ultimate goal of life. So when I say ultimate goal of life means my ultimate destination is the lotus feet of Krishna. But because the conditioned souls do not know anything of beyond sense gratification, they study the Vedas to that particular end. So many times people study the Vedas because they want more means of sense gratification. But through fruitive activities and sense gratification regulated by the Vedic rituals, one is gradually elevated to Krishna consciousness. So somebody is reading the Shastras, Vedas, he is gradually elevated to Krishna consciousness. Therefore, a self-realized soul in Krishna consciousness should not disturb others in their activities or understanding but he should act by showing how the results of all work can be dedicated to the service of Krishna. The learned Krishna conscious person may act in such a way that ignorant person working for sense gratification may learn how to act and how to behave. Although the ignorant man is not to be disturbed in his activities, a slightly developed Krishna conscious person may directly be engaged in the service of Lord Vishnu or service of the Lord without waiting for other Vedic formulas. For this fortunate man, there is no need to follow the Vedic rituals because by direct Krishna conscious, one can have all the results one would otherwise derive from following the prescribed duties. Actually, if you see, now somebody might say that if somebody has this very strong desire of becoming a brahmachari, or somebody has a very strong desire of giving up everything, but if you remember in the previous sections also, we saw that prematurely somebody should not give up their work prematurely. So you become mature enough to be detached from everything. And then you can give up. Like if you see all our sannyasis, they got full training from Srila Prabhupada. And they were rigorously trained by Prabhupada. And that's how, of course, there are some sannyasis who had just taken the instructions to their heart. And they took these instructions as a life and soul of Prabhupada. They had never even seen Prabhupada. But one who is following the instructions is able to detach himself very much easily and become a full-time devotee in Krishna consciousness. But that requires a lot of selfless attitude. That requires a lot of training. And if that training is given, proper training is given, then you can reach to that sannyas level also, where basically sannyas is what? Sannyas is giving up of sense gratification. That is only the definition of sannyas, that you don't want to do any sense gratification and you want to actually only gratify the senses of the Supreme Lord or you want to work for the senses of the Supreme Lord. So sannyas means not artificially giving up or not prematurely giving up something. And that is why you see the Varnashram Dharma has given us stages, that Grihastha Ashram, then Vanaprastha Ashram, and then Sannyasa Ashram. So in from the Grihastha Ashram itself, only the training starts for that sannyasi level. That husband and wife, they think that, and of course, see, sannyasi does not mean which is limited to one ashram, okay? We have sannyasis who are Grihastha sannyasis also, who are Grihastha initiating sannyasis like His Holiness Kratu Maharaj or His Holiness Burijan Prabhu. They are His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu also. They all are initiating gurus, but at the same time they're detached. They don't have even a tinge of sense gratification in their consciousness. So when I say sannyas means it is not limited. Even there can be grihastha sannyasis also, there can be vanaprastha sannyasis also. And then they can be, the final limit is sannyasi where he has left everything. So when we actually where was I? Forgot. Why did this whole topic come up? Sorry. Yeah. So we as leaders, when we are actually uh, uh, talking about um, when we are talking to when we are preaching to people or when we are preaching to the subordinates, then prematurely they should not give up. Slowly and gradually from the grahastha ashram, let them actually transmigrate from grihastha ashram to vanaprastha ashram to then sannyasa ashram. And that's how then they are also setting examples that we as grihasthas, we have Krishna in the center and all our activities are revolving around Krishna only. So even if somebody is an IT engineer or he's like a CEO of the company, he's still working to set an example. Or if you see in our movement, we have got His Grace Ambrish Prabhu. He is also working for Krishna, and he is giving everything for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. The whole planetarium that will be made actually is the seed funding was actually given by His Grace Amrish Prabhu, and that's how they're working for Krishna. So if a particular person is born in a high parentage, he can utilize it for Krishna service definitely, but that requires a lot of training. Is what is being said over here. Oh, this is also a very nice shloka which says that Prakrite kriyamani guna karmani sarvashah ahankar vimudatma kartam iti manyate. The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. So, if you see this, oh, the free will that is given to the living entity and the responsibility, these two things, the free will and the responsibility of the jiva, they will never disappear because the jiva's doership is made possible by the physical body that he has, the physical body, the senses, his prana or the life air, and by the Paramatma who is the activator of all these things. We have recently just seen in the Bhagavatam also. Give me 1 minute, okay? Let me just see where that chart is. Yeah, perfect. I got this chart. I'll just increase the size of the chart and get back. Okay. Why is saying that Krishna is the activator of the modes of material nature? This is what I am trying to explain through this particular chart. Is everybody able to see this chart? No, I think it is the third. Okay. So if you see, this is the creation of this universe chart. And this is the Bhagavatam, second canto, 21st shloka to 35th shloka. This is the Karana Shrishti, where how Krishna is actually creating this. So, Karanadaksha Vishnu, and when this Karanadaksha, so when the Supreme Lord, Karanadaksha Vishnu, he glances on the sum total of this material energy, that is Maya, and it is infusing it with then time and then karma and with swabhava. So then what happens is all these, they become agitated. And when they become agitated, because they are in an equilibrium state. Abhi equilibrium means what? Sukta avastha, dormant state mein hai, the no activity. So when they are agitated with time, because when Krishna is glancing, he's glancing on the sum total of all this material energy, that is Maya. He's glancing on Maya, and then Maya is in, and he's infusing it with Kala, and then Karma and Swabhava, and then that's how all these become agitated. And in that agitated state, okay, the Pradhana state, then they produce this Mahat Tattva. And this Mahat Tattva that is there, which is having these three modes. So here you will see that sattva is there and rajas is there in this particular chart, but you will not see tamas. Why? Because when and at every stage, the Lord is involved. Like from this stage to the second stage, the Lord's glance is required. Every stage, the Lord's glance is equally required. So then uh, uh, yeah, because this Mahat Tattva is predominated by the mode of goodness. And for creation, what do you require? You require passion also. So because of Jnana and because of Kriya Shakti, then what happens is that this Ahankar is actually born, okay, predominantly in tamas. So uh, these three stages, they are producing energies. They are called Jnana Shakti, which is born of Sattva Guna. Then there is Kriya Shakti, that is from Rajoguna, because creation requires passion, right? And then there is Tamas, that is Dravya Shakti. So if you see all this, these three things, so everywhere, the Lord is involved, the Lord is glancing, and then everywhere the time. So this Dravya Shakti will produce all these 10 sense devatas, the 10 senses, the intelligence, the 5 tanmatras, and the 5 elements. All these are actually Dravya Shaktis. And if you read over here, at each level of transformation, the Lord's energy in the form of time produces the subsequent state of transformation. So Kala is involved in every stage. The Lord is also involved in every stage. And that's how these three modes of material nature, that is how they are involved in these actions. So I'll require this chart. So I'm just, you're able to see this screen? The spirit soul is bewildered by the influence of false ego. Put it in the chat box if you are able to see. Okay, Priyanka. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much. So, Two persons in Krishna conscious and the other in material consciousness working on the same level may appear to be working on the same platform, but there's a wide gulf of difference in their respective positions. So a non-devotee and a devotee, Prabhupada is actually comparing person who is in knowledge and person who is not in knowledge, or an ignorant person. So what is the difference? The difference is that the person in material consciousness is convinced by false ego that he is the doer of everything. मैं कमा के लेके आ रहा हूँ, मैं family का भरण पोषण कर रहा हूँ. I am the person who is behind all this. He does not know that the mechanism the body is produced by material nature, which works under the supervision of the Supreme Lord. So if there is any disturbance in the body, what is happening? There is a bedridden state for that particular person. Okay. So that is why he does not know that the mechanism of the body is produced by material nature. And even little also disturbance. Prana vayu mein bhi thoda disturbance ho jata hai. We know na, then there is indigestion, there is a headache, right? So we should understand that everything is being controlled by the Lord, and I am not the doer, Krishna is the doer, which works under the supervision of the Lord. The materialist person has no knowledge that ultimately he is under the control of Krishna. Why you think that when a particular person is ill and he prays to Krishna, and immediately that person is out of the bed, or after a little subsequent amount of time, because Krishna is the controller. The whole cosmic manifestation is running under his control. The person in false ego takes the credit for doing everything independently. I am the doer. मैंने ये 1 लाख कमा के लेके आया हूँ. And that is the symptoms of his nescience, agyanta. He does not know that this gross and subtle body is the creation of material nature under the order of the Supreme Personality Godhead, and as such his bodily and mental activity should be engaged in the service of Krishna, in Krishna consciousness. So now after having that knowledge, then he knows that yes, Krishna is the doer. The ignorant man forgets that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Rishikesha, the master of the senses of material body. For due to his long misuse of the senses and sense gratification, he is factually bewildered by the false ego, which makes him forget his eternal relationship with Krishna. So, this particular person is thinking himself that I am the doer of all activities. So, and why he is thinking that he is the doer of all the activities? Because he has got this ahankar. Ahankar vimud atma. So, atma means soul. So, because this soul is bewildered by ahankar, okay, what is he thinking himself? He is thinking that I am the kartaham iti manyate. He is thinking that I am the doer of all activities. And he is also thinking that whatever is happening in this world, it is because of me only happening. I am only the, ultimate person who is behind all this. So he does not see God's hand in anything. He thinks that I am the person who is behind this. That is why um, uh, he's thinking that uh, mm, that I am the karta, but he does not know the doer is actually Krishna. So there may this doubt might arise, how to distinguish this person in knowledge and an ignorant person. So so this ignorant person, he thinks that I am the performer of all actions, and actually he's not the performer. Who are the performer of all these actions? His material senses. And his material senses are the performer of those actions. But these material senses are a product of what? Then these material senses are a product of the gunas. Prakrite gunaha. So although one, is tolerant with those people who are too much with, doing their own karmas. The difference between this person in knowledge and the person in ignorance is that person in ignorance is bewildered by false ego and he thinks himself that he is the doer. And the other person, he knows that I am not the doer. Anybody who is in knowledge, he knows that the Supreme Lord is actually the doer of all these actions. So that is why he does not even want to take up to the process of understanding the Vedas. And these actions, if he's thinking that I'm performing these actions, he's actually these actions are actually performed by the gunas, and then these actions are performed by even the prakriti kriyamanani. So prakriti, who is the prakriti, is Maya. And this Maya, how is acting? All these three things, guna, karma, and prakriti. How are they acting? In the form of body, senses, and the pranas, who are impelling that person to do some action. And then who is making this person do that action is actually the Lord only. But then हम कुछ नहीं करते, भगवान ही सब कुछ करते हैं. So he thinks he is the doer of all actions, whether it is prescribed in the Shastras or not prescribed in the Shastras, and which are in fact they are performed by whom? They are performed by all the gunas, the byproducts of the gunas, you can say, and by the Prakriti also, Lord's Maya Shakti also, in the form of body, senses, and the pranas, who are impelling him to do that action. But that action is done by the Supreme Lord. So that is why this Jivatma with a body which is made of knowledge. So knowledge is which Shakti of the Lord? Knowledge is the Samvit Shakti of the Lord. So he is thinking, he has a sense of I, and he's thinking that I am the actual doer. But he has got this impressions, or you can say that he has got these vasanas of enjoying these material senses, or enjoying these material sense objects from time immemorial. And he is embraced by this Prakriti also, who is very much situated next to him only, and who is the cause of his pleasure also. So now, because of his vasanas or his impressions that he is having, he wants to enjoy. So this false ego is only the product of Prakriti. And who is that Prakriti? That Prakriti is Maya. Okay. And then what happens? Because through false ego, which is a product of Prakriti, then what happens? He becomes bewildered. And why does he become bewildered? Because he has no knowledge of the self. And he is thinking himself to be a material body. वो अपने आप को शरीर मानता है, वो अपने आप को आत्मा नहीं मानता है. And then he thinks that the activities which are compelled by the Lord and this material body, the senses and the life air, are being done by himself only. So that is why a human being as a human being, this free will and responsibility of this jiva never disappear in spite of karma and desire. Okay, so however his actions may be, can only be performed along with Prakriti in the form of these bodies, senses, and the consent of the Lord. So how the jiva can conquer this influence of karma and swabhava will be discussed now in the end of the chapter. And this Atma, who is the doer, or this doership of this Atma is only made possible by the body, senses, and the prana, by the Paramatma, who is the activator of all things. Krishna is activating, right? When he is glancing, he is agitating, he is activating, because everything is in a sleeping state, and then Krishna, what he does, he activates. So the jiva is not only the factor, and he's thinking that I am the doer. That the jiva thinks that he is the only doer is actually only, he says this only in his bewildered state of false ego. So from this is, like, if you see, in the 18th chapter, 14th shloka, let me just open that and show you. We might go to the next window and take help of the. So see, from 18, the place of action, the performer, the various senses, the many different kinds of endeavor, and ultimately the super soul. These are the 5 factors of action. So any action has 5 factors. One is the body, the place of action. Then second is the performer. Then there are various senses also. And then there are many kinds of endeavors also. And then ultimately the sanction of the Supreme Lord is actually required. So if you see that even the 13th chapter also is describing that Prakriti is doer, though the body and the senses, but it is not possible to consider all that Prakriti is the only doer. And then Prakriti will come into action only by the contact of the Lord. Till the time Prakriti does not come in contact of the Lord, the Prakriti will not do any action, because Prakriti is also in a sleeping state. Sukta was the dormant state. So later on, of course, this will be explained that the doership of the Lord can never be rejected also. And Prabhupada also explains that any ignorant man who is forgetting the Supreme Lord and who is not satisfying the senses of the Supreme Lord, who is Rishikena Rishikesha Sevaya, and that person will always be bewildered. If somebody does not know or who is forgetful of his relationship with Krishna, then that person will always be in a bewildered state. So, this one verse, in the Gita, that is discussing this doer or whoever is a karta, and Krishna is explaining that all these foolish, souls, they think themselves the doer, and they are thinking that okay, we are the doer, but actually they are carried out by the 3 gunas. Like if you see, just example, I'll give a practical example. I'll give you, okay, that how how the work is actually carried out by the 3 modes of material nature. In the morning, we are in Satoguna, so we do all Satoguna activities, right? Then during the daytime, like as soon as it is 9 o'clock, there is a passion. Oh, I have to go for my job. Oh, I have to go, for my business. Oh, I have to drop children to the school. Oh, I have to do this. And so passion. And at night time, what is happening? Mode of ignorance. So that is why Prabhupada is also mentioning, he's referring who is the ultimate doer in this purport. The materialistic man, if you see, has no knowledge that ultimately the ultimate doer is Krishna, and he is under the control of Krishna. And again, this topic will keep on rolling, that who is the doer. And now in the 28th shloka, if you see, he will explain now, there will be a distinguishing between that that between who is an attached worker and a detached worker, or a devotional worker, you can say. we come back to our we actually discussed a lot in this. Now let's go to Tattvavid tu mahabaho guna karma vibhagayo guna guneshu vartanta iti matvana sajjate. So one who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, Almighty Arm, does not engage himself in the senses and sense gratification, knowing well the difference between work and devotion and work for fruitive results. So anybody who is in knowledge, who is a Tattvavid Prabhu, Tattvavid, sorry, we have a Tattvavid Prabhu, so it just came out from my mind that who is a Tattvavid person, anybody who has knowledge or who is a knower about the absolute truth. So what will he be do? He will not engage himself in the senses and sense gratification. So guna and guneshu. He will not engage himself in guna and guneshu. And what will he not do as such? That he will also not get, he will not become sajjate, he will not become attached also to the work. Okay, so because this person will know what is his identity, that he is the servant of Krishna, he is the eternal. So according to Srimad Bhagavatam, one who knows the absolute truth in three features, namely Brahman, Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of God, is called a Tattvavid. For he knows also his own factual position in relationship with the Supreme Lord. Prakritir guna sammudha sajjante guna karmasu tan krutasna vido mandan kritnasna vichalayeta. Bewildered by the modes of material nature, the ignorant fully engage themselves in material activities and become detached. Why? Because, they become attached. But the wise should not unsettle them. Although these duties are inferior due to the performer's lack of knowledge. So, what should the wise not do? The wise should not tell them to stop working and should not disturb also the ignorant people, because he is ignorant of his relationship with Krishna, because he is ignorant about himself also, and his body also, and his soul also. So then such people should not. That's why now Krishna will actually, Krishna will, when he is described about karma yoga, now Krishna will also say that ultimately he is only the object of everything, and every activity needs to be done as an offering to the Supreme Lord. And then such karma yoga only is actually bhakti yoga. If everything is done for the Supreme Lord as an offering to him, then that will become. So let's read Prabhupada's purport, because Prabhupada has something very good to say in the men who are ignorant cannot appreciate activities in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, Lord Krishna advises us not to disturb them and simply waste valuable time. So, but the devotees of the Lord are more kind than the Lord, because they understand the purpose of the Lord. Consequently, they undertake all kind of risk, even to the point of approaching ignorant men to try to engage them in the acts of Krishna consciousness, which are absolutely necessary for human beings. So many times devotees seem that they're a little pushy, or they might push people to take up to Krishna consciousness, or even if a person, like one of the offenses of the chanting of the holy name is to not preach to those people who do not have sufficient amount of faith. So to instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name. But still the devotees will instruct this faithless person. So that because the devotees of the Lord have now taken up this responsibility of spreading the mission of the Lord. So the mission of the Lord is what? To reclaim the fallen conditioned souls back home, back to Godhead. This is the Lord's mission. And that is why time and again the Lord comes to re-establish and, to give his association and keep on instructing the knowledge that has been vanished over a period of time. So now the mood has been adopted. Like you say, when you say like father, like son. So when I say the mood of the father is actually to expand the business. So the son's mood also will be the same, that he wants to expand his father's business doubly or triply or 10 times more. So for us devotees also, because Krishna is our ultimate father, his mood is to reclaim the fallen conditioned soul. So our also mood becomes the same. And in that process, we what we do is that we are ready to take all types of risk. A risk in the sense that sometimes we might not even take care of our health, and we might not take care of the risk to such an extent that sometimes a person may even lose his life in that particular process. So uh, 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 we want to um, approach all who are ignorant and try to engage them in Krishna consciousness and connect them to Krishna. This is the mood of a devotee. So now, how to work for Krishna? Then work for Krishna and by following him. So, Mai sarvani karmani sannyasyaatmatmana chetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yuddhasva vigatajvaraha. So, he's saying that do your duty while completely depending on me, because this is the stage of actually bhakti yoga. And from here, actually, the stage of bhakti yoga starts, and this is only the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita, to actually establish the bhakti yoga. So, therefore, Arjuna, surrendering all works unto me, with full knowledge of me, without desires for profit, with no claims of proprietorship, and free from lethargy, get up and fight. So, this verse clearly indicates the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. The Lord instructs that one has to become fully Krishna conscious to discharge duties. As if in a military discipline, such an injunction may make things a little difficult. Nevertheless, duties must be carried out with dependence on Krishna, because that is the constitutional position of the living entity. The living entity cannot be happy independent of the cooperation of the Supreme Lord, because the eternal constitution position of the living entity is to become subordinate of the desires of the Lord. To become subordinate of the desires of the Lord means only to follow the instructions of the Supreme Lord. So when I say that I am the subordinate of my boss, so what does it mean? Okay, I am following the instructions of the boss, and that is why I am a subordinate. Arjuna was therefore ordered by Krishna to fight as if the Lord were his military commander. One has to sacrifice everything for the goodwill of the Supreme Lord, and at the same time discharge prescribed duties without claiming proprietorship. Arjuna did not have to consider the order of the Lord. He had to execute his order. आप मेरे आदेश का पालन करो. The Supreme Lord is the soul of all souls, and therefore one who depends solely and wholly on the Supreme Soul without personal consideration, or in other words, one who is fully Krishna conscious, is called Adhyatma Chetasa. So, Nirashir means that one who has to act on the order of the master but should not expect fruitive result. The cashier may count millions of dollars for his employer, but he does not claim a cent for himself. Similarly, one has to realize that nothing in the world belongs to any individual person, but that everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. This is the real purport of Mai, or unto me. And when one acts in such consciousness, Krishna consciousness, certainly he does not claim proprietorship over anything. This consciousness is called nirmamaha, or nothing is mine. And if there is any reluctance to execute such a stern order, which is without consideration of so-called kings in the bodily relationship, that reluctance should be thrown off. So sometimes we will have some reluctance, to give something or to give away something. But Prabhupada is advising over here is that please throw off that reluctance. So in the beginning also, if you see, what we had done is that we were also reluctant, right, to give up certain things. Especially I was very much reluctant to give up chocolates. But over a period of time, we gave up chocolates. So in this way, one becomes vigata jwara, or without feverish mentality or lethargy. Everyone, according to his quality and position, has a particular type of work to discharge, and all such duties may be discharged in Krishna consciousness described above. That will lead one to the path of liberation. So there are many actually sense gratificatory things that are there that a person is reluctant and he can actually give up also. It is not necessary that it takes a long time to give up many things. So the so if somebody say, where Krishna is saying over here is Mai Sarvani Karmani, Mai, मुझे, offering all your activities to me. आपके सारे कर्म क्या करो, मुझे offer करो. And संन्यास्य आत्म चेतस, he's saying that पूरी चेतना में, okay, with full knowledge and dependence on me, मेरे अधीन होकर ये सारा कीजिए. एंड निराशीर, फिर कोई आशा न रखते हुए, विदाउट एनी डिजायर्स, एनीथिंग, निर्ममो भूतवा. एंड भूतवा मीन्स विदाउट एनी सेंस ऑफ प्रोप्राइटरशिप, मतलब कोई स्वामित्व की भावना न रखते हुए. एंड देन ही सेइंग दैट यू फाइट मीन्स युद्धस्व विगत ज्वरः. ज्वर मीन्स lethargy. So vigata means free from lethargy. That's what Krishna is suggesting Arjuna. Now if you see that it is little difficult to with these, but Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti also Thakur is saying that sannyas means only offering all works to me. By that consciousness fixed in the Atma rather than in material objects, and being without desires for any results. Or you can say that nirashra means also, actually you can say that when you say without personal desires, nirashra means also nishkam also. And then nirmamaha, without any possession of me, mine, in all. So if somebody is doing this with knowledge, and with this knowledge of the nature of the Atma, or the nature that offering all the actions to Krishna, and just as a servant is offering everything to the king, and Krishna is saying that you fight. So Krishna is suggesting Arjuna that you should be devoid of the concept of being the doer, because as a servant is dependent on the king performs actions according to the servant is performing actions according to the king's order. So you should also perform your actions according to my order, with a desire to teach people. So of course we also know that Arjuna was actually a nimitta, or he was actually chosen by Krishna to propagate his message of Bhagavad Gita. So when a person is devoid of all desires for personal results, thinking that he's doing this only by the order of his master, and he does not have any bhavana of swamitva, or he's devoid of all possessiveness, then the reactions of these actions are for Krishna. And having given up that anguish of arising from these thoughts of killing friends and enemies and all. So Arjuna should fight because that is his duty as a Kshatriya. And this means that those who are desiring liberation should follow the actions prescribed for them according to their particular ashrama. So what is the prescribed actions for a grihastha ashram? What is the prescribed for a vanaprastha? What is the prescribed action for a brahmachari and a sannyasi? So this means that the varna duties are performed, but subject to the ashram rules. Arjuna should claim, Arjuna could claim that he was a Kshatriya, Vanaprastha, and renounce fighting, but he's a Grihastha, and therefore he must perform his occupational duty of fighting. And Prabhupada also is saying that the real purport of Mai means actually do everything for me. And that consciousness is there that nothing is for me. Nirmamaha. If nothing is for me, I should do everything for them. And this will only lead one to the path of liberation when you are, when everyone is according to his quality and position, is discharging a particular type of work, and all such duties are discharged in Krishna consciousness, then that person will be able to attain liberation. Otherwise, very difficult for him to attain liberation. So, in the next now, where this Krishna will mention that, okay, what will you achieve if you follow my instructions? Or what will you achieve if you will follow my teachings? So he's saying in the next shloka, Yame matamidam nityam anutishthani manava shraddhavanto anusuyanto munchate te api karma bhi. So he's saying that those persons who execute their duties according to my injunctions and who follow his teachings faithfully, without envy, become free from the bondage of fruitive actions. So Krishna is giving the result. If you are following my instruction, then this is the result. And in the next shloka, he will give that if you are not following my instructions, what will also happen. So, ye tvav etad अभ्यसुयन्तो नानुतिष्ठन्ति मे मतं सर्वज्ञान विमूढ़ा मतन विधि नष्टान चेतस. So he's saying that, but those who out of envy disregard my teachings and do not follow them regularly are to be considered bereft of all knowledge, befooled and ruined in their endeavors for perfection. Befooled यानी बेवकूफी बन रहे हैं. So if you see in these two shlokas, so there is the 31 and 32, the primarily speaking about what will be the result if you follow my instructions, and what will be the result if you disregard my instructions. And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives a very nice that only those men, and so if you see even the word to word translation saying that ye me matam idam, ye me matam in anutishtanti manavaha. So ye manava, only those, manava means people, only those who are nityam anutishtanti, nityam, every day or always, you can say nityam is always, also every day also, who are following. And what are they following? Me idam matam, they are following my teaching. And how are they following? Shraddhavanto, they are following with faith. And they are following with faith also, and they are following with what? Anusuyanto. Anusuyanto means without envy they are following. And what is the result? If they are following with faith and without envy, then the result is that te karma bhi munchante. They are free. Munchante means free. They are free from the bondage of actions. So, uh, only those men who are always nityam following my teaching, those who are following the teachings of the Vedas, who with no beginning, because the Shrutis are eternal. So with firm faith, without having any feeling, that it is like fault for one who is interested in the liberation to participate in useless material actions, which are only a waste of, you can say, time, and are free from the bondage of this action. So this word api, it has the sense of limitation only to this particular verse. Okay, so just give me a minute. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So, then there is another meaning also to this, that those who are following the teachings of Krishna, even who cannot follow. So, for example, I am following somebody, but I don't have faith, but I'm still following. Because sometimes what happens, out of respect, we follow. We don't disrespect somebody's teachings. And even they can be free from the bondage of action. So, for example, I do not have a conviction that by offering food to the Lord, I'll be purified. But okay, because my Guru Maharaj is telling me to offer food to Krishna and then take it as prasadam, I do not have that faith. But still, I will be free from the bondage of that particular action. So, while I was eating sin, I'm not going to eat sin and I'll be free from that bondage of action. So, even though at the present time, people cannot follow by faith in the teachings, and if they will not have envy, if there is a lack of envy, then even their obstacles will decrease. So, see, even in our life also, we did not have so much faith, right, in the initial beginning, but we did not envy also Krishna, right? So what happened eventually? Slowly, whatever the obstacles that were there in our path of Krishna consciousness, they slowly went on decreasing. And little by little, so currently also we don't have firm faith. We are still on the anartha nivritti, stage, right? At least I'm talking about myself, that I'm on an anartha nivritti stage. But slowly by performing Krishna's instructions, I will be free from greed, envy, pride, and then I will have firm faith. The next step after anartha nivritti is firm faith, that is nishtha. So slowly they'll become free. So that's how, that is the result of following Krishna's teaching, that slowly we will develop that faith. And in the very next shloka also, he's saying that, where he's saying that the result, what will be the result of not following my teachings, or not or disregard my teachings. So he's saying that those who those who are sarva jnana vimudhana, those who are do not, they are devoid of this knowledge, or they're achetasa. those whose consciousness is also not pure, or who are hostile to his teaching, and nanutishtanti, those who do not follow it. And what is happening? Their intelligence is being nashta. Their intelligence is being lost. So actually, this verse is actually speaking of the fault of not following the instruction, that when you disregard this instruction. So uh, uh, abhyasa abhyasa suyanta. So out of envy, these people uh, they do not follow his instructions. So those who are following are without envy, and those who are not following, they have envy, and that is why they are not following the instructions of Krishna. So who do not perform his actions in this way, they do not have uh, proper discrimination, that is called achetasa, who are devoid of proper discrimination, and they are vimudatma, they are ignorant. Of what they are ignorant? They are ignorant of jnana, knowledge. And what are they again? And all these prescribed actions also they are devoid of. So they do not know, and they do not have even proper direction also. So what has happened with their knowledge? That it has become nashtan. So that's how, uh, and they are even unaware of this punishment, that they will be punished by the laws of lords. Because for example, if we do not follow the laws or instructions of the government, then what happens? There is a punishment for this disobedience to this order of the government. And definitely there is a punishment for disobedience for even the Supreme Lord's instruction also. So this disobedient person, he might be very a great personality also. He might be very great famous personality, but he's ignorant of his own self, and he does not know his relationship with the Supreme Lord. And that is why there is always a vacancy in his heart, because he does not, वो खुशी नहीं रहता है. वो कितना भी बड़ा इंसान बन जाए, he might become a millionaire also, but there is a vacancy in his heart, and there is no hope for such a person to be perfect in life. Whatever he might attain, he might be a billionaire also, but his heart is always vacant. So this is what has been said in this 32 number shloka. Let's see the next shloka. This last shloka I'll explain, and then we'll just halt for the day. ये त्वम् एतात् अभ्यासयन्तो नानुतिष्ठन्ति मे मतम् सर्व. Oh, sorry, I'm reading the same shloka. I was wondering why am I reading the same shloka. Sadrisham चेष्टते स्वयां प्रकृते प्रकृतेर ज्ञान वापनपि प्रकृति यन्ति भूतानि निग्रह किम करिष्यति. So he's saying that even a man of knowledge acts according to his nature. For everyone follows the nature he has acquired from the three modes. What can repression accomplish him? So, nigraha kim karishyati. So, what can this regression accomplish him? So, if you see over here, there are limitations of karma and jnana also. Because nigraha means the instructions of the scriptures, and the instructions of scriptures of what? Of Nishkam Karma Yoga. They can purify a person, they can enlighten a person, and make his impure heart pure. So these scriptural instructions that are there of Jnana Yoga, they can also enlighten a person, purify a person, and make that person a pure-hearted person. But they cannot purify the extremely impure hearted people, निग्रह किम करिष्यति, जो बहुत ही impure heart वाले हैं, उनको वो प्योर नहीं कर पाएंगे. So unless one is situated on the transcendental platform of Krishna consciousness, one cannot get free from the influence of the modes of material nature. And even though you might be most highly educated person, knowledge, on the mundane plane, it is impossible to get out of the entanglement of Maya simply by theoretical knowledge or by separating the soul from the body. Theoretical knowledge matlab kya hai, knowledge which is not related to Krishna. Okay. So there are many so-called spirituals who outwardly pose as advanced in science, but inwardly or privately are completely under the modes of material nature. What does this mean? They are modes of the material nature. Passion बहुत सताती है उनको, ignorance भी बहुत सताता है उनको, and that is why they might be advanced, but they are not advanced spiritually. Academically, one may be learned, but because of his long association with material nature, he is in bondage only. Now, how to be free from that bondage? Krishna consciousness helps one to get out of the material entanglement, even though one may be engaged in his prescribed duties in terms of material existence. Therefore, without being fully in Krishna conscious, one should not give up his occupational duties. See, fully Krishna conscious means what? You understand that Krishna is in control. Your heart is sufficiently purified. No one should suddenly give up his prescribed duty and become a so-called yogi or a transcendental artificially. Artificially आपको बोले ना कि वैराग्य जो होता है वो वैराग जो होता है वो युक्त वैराग्य होना चाहिए. It should not be false renunciation. That okay, today I renounce everything and I go and sit in the temple. But my senses are troubling me so much that what I start doing is that I start associating with different women, and that I try to, associate with them. It is better that you are a grihastha and you artificially renounce your wife and children. Better go back and, serve them and sufficiently become, equipped with Krishna consciousness, and then you can actually give up. But artificially when you renounce, then you will be in a mess. हम क्या हो जाएंगे ना, धोबी का कुत्ता हो जाएंगे, ना घर का ना घाट का. So neither we will be able to do something substantial for the society, because you become like a parasite only for the society, and neither are you doing something for your own self also. So it is better to be situated in one's position and try to attain Krishna consciousness under superior training. Superior training means superior training of the spiritual master and Krishna. Thus, one may be freed from the clutches of Krishna's Maya. So, and actually, if you see this section from 33 to 35, it is giving the limitations of karma and jnana, but it is also glorifying bhakti. Glorifying bhakti means bhakti is arising out of causeless mercy of the Supreme Lord. And when you associate with, pure devotees, they can also deliver us from even the most sinful persons. And unless one is situated on this Krishna conscious platform, then a person cannot be free from any influence of the modes of material nature. Because why? Krishna himself says in the Bhagavad Gita, if you see the 7th chapter, देवी एषा गुणमयी मम माया दुरात्य मामेव प्रपद्यन्ते मायामेवं तरन्ति ते. This energy of mind is very, very, difficult to overcome. And this energy is what? Consisting of modes of material nature. But those who are surrendered unto me can easily cross over it. So, Prabhupada also actually mentions in the pulpit over here. The 35th shloka Prabhupada is mentioning, I suppose. So, this 34th shloka, where it is saying that, okay, I think I'll take this 34th and onwards the next time. Today we will just halt over here. Because these 2-3 sections are little important and it requires a little more explanation. Because because 34th shloka onward is saying a gradual purification will start happening. And how that gradual purification will start happening, Krishna will give us a more insight into it. So I halt for the day. I halt my speech also. Anybody has any questions, queries, doubts? You're free to ask me. Most of you all don't have your cameras on. Mahendra Prabhu, Indriyani Mataji, Jyoti Rupa Mataji, Krishna Kripa Mataji, Kalyani Tiwari, Harsh Prasannatma. Why? See, we are accountable and we are responsible, right? If we are not accountable and responsible, then it's very difficult to do it. So when the videos are on, then we are accountable to somebody who's teaching us, right? Okay, yeah. Anybody has any questions, queries, you all can ask me. So, Shanti Mataji, please take down Jyoti Rupa Mataji's name, Krishna Kripa Mataji's name, Harsh Prasannatma Prabhu's name, and Kalyani Tiwari's name. Why they are not switching on their videos while the class is on? Please call them up and ask them why their videos are not on while the class is on. Okay. Yes, anybody has any queries, doubts, questions? They're free to ask. Pathasarthi Prabhu, yes.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Mataji, I just want some clarification. Please correct me. This is reference to 3.27 Bhagavad Gita. And that actions are performed by 3 modes under supervision of Prakriti or Maya in the form of body and senses, who are ultimately under the control of Krishna. This is properly stated or anything correction required?
No, Prabhuji, it is properly stated. And if you see what I had explained in that particular Prabhuji chart that we saw. So it is carried out by the Supreme Lord itself only. Okay, where the Supreme Lord is actually the doer. And why? Because see, he's saying that Prakriti Kriya Manani. He's saying that those who are bewildered by pride, somebody's. Rajmalu Bhutkari Prabhu, please keep your mic off only because there is air voice coming and maybe because of that I'm getting disturbed. So this Prakriti Kriya Manani, what he's thinking that he's the doer. Okay. So he's bewildered. But this person is bewildered by what? He's bewildered by ahankar. And a particular person which is bewildered by ahankar, then he is thinking that I am the doer. Kartam aham iti. Main karta hu. Aham. Aham means I am the doer. And then whatever his karmani also, whatever his actions are, he is thinking that I am the doer of those actions. But we know that Sarvasha Kriyamanani, they are done completely by Prakriti Gunaha. All these actions are done by the body, which is given by the Lord, the senses, which is given by the Lord, and even the prana or the life air, which is given by the Lord, and the body, senses, and pran, Prabhuji, they all are made of Prakriti only. And Prakriti is made by whom? Prakriti is made by the 3 modes of the 3 modes. So the 3 modes are properly acting. And this Prakriti is made by whom? By the Supreme Lord. So actually, who is doing? Who is the doer? Krishna is the doer, right? So But yes, Krishna has given us one free will and responsibility that will not disappear in the jiva. And the jiva's doership is made possible only by this body, senses, and this life air. By whom? By the Paramatma, who is the activator of all the living beings. That is why if you see the Shirodaksha Vishnu, he enters into every living being and then he's activating every living being, right? So this jiva is not only the factor. The jiva, there is the doer of the action, there's the place of the action, and how the jiva can conquer over this influence of karma and swabhava, we will be discussing at the end of this particular chapter that we have our own karmas and we have our own swabhava also. So how we can actually conquer our bad swabhava, how we can overcome our even bad karmas that we have performed in the past birth, that Krishna will just tell towards the end of this chapter. Because there are many, what do you say, many factors also involving this karma. And the prime factor that is there, that is actually, Krishna will say that it's lust. That's the greatest enemy. And that is why we've misused our independence. Krishna will be giving much in deep details about this, Prabhu. Okay, any more, counter clarification on this, Shloka, Prabhuji?
Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Mataji, just I want to ask you one question. I don't know whether it is properly asked. How can we engage in our prescribed duties in this Kali Yuga?
How can we engage in a prescribed duty?
In our Kali Yuga, because as when without doing our some office work or whatever karmas we do, so we have to need some Lakshmi. So how can we fulfill the requirements daily?
Okay. So, Prabhu, what we have to do is that while we are doing our duties, we have to, like, even for Krishna, no, even for Arjuna, Krishna is telling that while you are fighting on the battlefield, you think about me. At the back of the mind, you always think about me. So, for example, we are working in the fields. Okay, I am a farmer. I go on the fields to work every day. So, while sowing the seed, we can think about Krishna. That Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita, Aham Bija Prajapita. I am the seed giving father of all living entities. So, okay, I am also actually one of the part and parcel only of Krishna, and Krishna is, my ultimate person who has given me this body. So while he's sowing, while he is in watering, also he can think about Krishna. Like Krishna says that, okay, when you water the roots, then you don't need to worship the demigods. So we are thinking about Krishna. While harvesting also, we are thinking about Krishna. While winnowing also, we are thinking about Krishna. Any activity you are doing, even if you are buying a vegetable, you can think, I'm buying it for Krishna. I'll offer it and then I will take it as prasad. So, or if all this is too difficult, one very easy thing also we can do is that before stepping out of the house, we can pray to Krishna for 1 or 2 minutes that Krishna, whatever activities now I'll be doing throughout the day, Krishna, I am doing it as an offering to you. I know you are the doer, and I know that I'm not the doer. You are my master. I'm your servant, and I'm supposed to work for you. So Krishna, I'm working for you. Then we don't get attached to that work. Then we don't get attached to all those things, and we'll do it in a very selfless attitude. So every time we have to connect ourselves to Krishna. Every activity that we do, we are connecting ourselves to Krishna. And then, of course, if we are earning some money, we can do it as an offering to Krishna. We can offer the fruits of that work to Krishna, and that's how we'll be purified eventually, Prabhu. Does that answer your question, Prabhu, or something you want to clarify more and ask me, Prabhu?
Okay, ma'am. Okay, thank you, Mataji.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Anybody else has any more questions? Queries?
Mataji,
Yeah, Shubhangi Mataji.
Mataji is related to the open book question which you posted in the group. Just day before yesterday. So we'll have to give the open book like the last time, or we are going to divide it into 2 sessions, because our first to 6 chapters is our unit 1, correct? If I'm not wrong.
No, this is the second unit, no, Shubhangi?
Yes.
Unit 1 was
The
Upanishad. Then this is unit 2. This is Bhagavad Gita part
2.
2. So our first unit was Upanishad, which we completed. So this is
I meant the first unit of Bhagavad Gita.
okay. The
I'm
first
so sorry.
yes. So from the first unit of Bhagavad Gita only, you're going to write those essays, and sample, OBAs have been given in your handbook itself, that how will you write the OBA. That also sample is been given to you all. Why I given much in advance is because we are halfway. And another, like, you can say like 3-4 months, still we have time to write our OBAs. So in our free time also we can write, and we can keep, and when the time of submission will come, then you just have to put one click and submit it on that day. Ye nahi hai ki, okay, tomorrow is submission and today I'm actually typing my, OBA. So in hadabadi, kuch bhi nahi ho sakta, in the sense ki you won't be able to give your best that time. Last minute is like a nervous state. Bahut nervous hai, anxious hai. And so 1 month before you're preparing even for your examinations also. So what will you do? You'll prepare for examinations or OBA or, shlokas. There are 12 shlokas to be, memorized with meanings and all. Kya karenge hum log, hai na? So that needs to be taken care of.
Okay, Mataji, thank you.
So I think there is some question in the chat box. Mataji, the material nature stops acting only at the time of annihilation, right? Or any time before also? Yes. At the time of annihilation, it stops working. Yeah, correct. Mataji, the material nature stops. Okay, the same question. Mataji, Krishna Kripa is in US and there is a studio flat and her husband might be sleeping. Not sure, but it's actually Friday. She can put earplugs and she can hear, but the video has to be on, right? Friday night they can switch on camera also. It's my opinion. I will speak to her, Mataji. Okay, fine. Any more questions? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, devotees, for joining in. So next Saturday we join in again and we'll continue with the class. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.